Me in studio, I have a set of gentlemen who are going to be helping us understand what is the trajectory of the Forum for Democratic Change going forward. Is it one that ought to be halted and then a new dispensation found, or people are pretty much comfortable and understand the legality of any developments that could have undergone in the last 72 hours. We are joined by Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi, Member of Parliament for Mawokota County South. He's also a member of the National Executive Committee of the Forum for Democratic Change by virtue of his position as a legislator. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, viewers. I'm happy to be here to say a word or two about what is going on in our party.
Yes.
And it's a great privilege and an honor. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Joining us too is Brian Atwere. He's a youth leader for the Forum for Democratic Change in Kanungu District. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
And welcome to you too, Joseph Tindieba, usual suspect, former Secretary for Research at the Forum for Democratic Change. You're armed with the Constitution, and so is MP Yusuf Nsibambi.
You know,
interesting dynamics there.
I'm in charge for policy and research.
Policy and research. You're in charge.
Yes,
you're not former.
No,
my apologies for that misrepresentation. Let me begin with Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi to give us a preamble of where we find ourselves right now as a country. When I say we, you might assume I'm within the FDC, but I'm not. When I say we, I mean the Ugandan. We are watching what is happening within the Forum for Democratic Change. Developments have gone on for the last 72 hours. Change of leadership, suspension of those who don't believe that they've been suspended and have described that as daydreaming. What's happening?
Yeah, thank you very much. When you say we, I think it is a right description because these institutions, or the party is actually national institutions.
Yeah.
That's why you get funding from the coffers of the state. Even the regulation is by laws laid down by the state and government generally. So when you say we, it is a good description. All these parties belong to us. That's why
I was staying clear of anybody who might misunderstand my political inclinations. I don't belong to any party.
Of course. Viewers, I think I would like to start from the point where we are, because for the past we've been discussing issues of the squabbles in the party, issues of the so-called dirty money, and I believe our viewers out there at least have some bit of insight. But I would like to talk about the meetings and the consequences of those meetings and the ongoing preparations for another delegates conference for the people to get a true perspective of what is going on. First of all, the meeting that was held at Katonga in itself was convened by the chairperson, who has powers under our constitution to convene such a meeting. But what constitutes a meeting is also defined under the law. You may have the powers to convene and preside over a meeting, and maybe people attending also may have the legitimate right to deliberate, but the meeting must be initiated as a party meeting. And this involves the coordination of the different organs in the party. You have the National Executive Council, you may also have the National Council at that. Then you also have the Management Committee, in our constitution referred to as the NEC committee. There's a committee,
working committee.
There's a working committee,
which has to first of all look at the business, the nature of the business that is going to be
discussed at an extraordinary meeting.
The funding of the meeting itself and other logistics. Okay. So the chairman has the powers to convene and preside over the meeting, but he has no powers to lay down a meeting without involving all these other stakeholders.
What does the Constitution specifically stipulate on that aspect?
Yeah, the Constitution...
If he's given the powers to call an extraordinary meeting on account of what could be happening and his understanding of matters, does he have to meet certain parameters, including consultation on specific aspects?
That's what has to be told to our viewers out there. Constitutional matters are not defined to the last letter. For example, you not define whatever is going to be conducted at a meeting. you give the general framework. But when it comes to working and coming up with a committee, there are other rules under common law.
What I deduct from your submission is that there could have been an illegality.
Not an illegality, irregularity.
Okay.
It's not illegal
It's
because
not
it has
illegal.
the powers
It has
legally,
the power, yes.
but irregularly conducted.
Irregularly
And that
conducted.
is clear under the law.
Does that nullify the resolutions reached?
No, let me just give, before you go to notification of the results, I just give one simple aspect.
Okay.
When it comes to the budget, for example, the chairperson, you're not in position to generate a budget. And the moment you do it, that's how to bias your powers. So the person who is supposed to generate that is supposed to be the treasurer. The
treasurer.
So if he's not involved, then whether you have powers to conduct a meeting, you cannot commit the party. Because whatever he did, hiring halls of whatever, the hotel, which was personal, he had to declare under the law. If you have personal and conflict of interest, it is your personal private property. And then you are actually
Holding
the one generating the budget, same time you are the one procuring, you're the one providing services. That's also a matter which must have been cleared where you declare at an organ. It is okay for you to say this is my property and say it's proper. Then there'll be no conflict of interest. So the meeting itself becomes irregular because you are now committing the party to liability. The service providers are saying, please pay. Is there a budget?
What are the implications of irregularity?
Yeah, the irregularity now becomes now a disciplinary matter. It also makes the meeting null and void. And it's very clear. The law is very clear. I can give a referral of cases about that.
Okay.
So you cannot just cling on one clause that I have the powers to convene without looking at all the other that is said.
Interesting there. That gives us the impetus for a discussion that will last us some bit of time. But allow me come to...
You're asking about now the resolution.
No, just hold on. There is something we must thresh out before we can come to the aspect of whether those resolutions stand or not. Joseph Tindieba, you are Secretary for Policy and
Deputy
Research.
Secretary
Deputy
General.
Secretary General.
Yes, please.
For Policy and Research within FDC.
Yes,
Let's
please.
concentrate on policy. What is the dilemma here?
The Constitution is a policy document, and there can't be any kind of arm twisting if we are to promote good governance that is as stipulated in this Constitution within the party and to Ugandans. So we'd like to inform the viewers outside there that the chairperson of the National Delegate Conference to have convened an extraordinary delegate conference is uncontestable. And even if it was to be a matter of court, still the Political Organization Act, Political Party Organization Act, it is clear. We are all bound to this Constitution. And the number of issues that have happened in the FDC, for the first time to have what you're calling the escalation, it is because of leaders mismanaging the party, putting the Constitution aside. In this way, it is clear that the chairperson, if he is to convene an extraordinary delegate conference, he gives a notice. And by the time a notice is issued out, it's automatic that the Secretary General was informed. And in response, he responded back, trying to say that there are no funds. But you know, this is the FDC, which is a revolutionary party. Whether with money or without money, it can conduct its business. Because we are not an NGO and we are not money makers. And in this way, that's why the chairperson and other leaders, including those who came from Karamoja and all over the country, they had to put in their money. Because if this, when it was registered, it didn't first seek for the funding of the government. It had to come from people's contributions. So in a midst when there were, continuous and maximization of a crisis where the chairperson had to execute his duty to bring harmony in the party. And one of the reasons why he had to call for this extraordinary delegate conference, the party president, the Secretary General were part of the subject matter. The Electoral Commission, which the other time I told you is an illegitimate Electoral Commission and incompetent by the virtue of what it had done and calling for petitions all over 50% of districts of Uganda. And as you know, this is the Constitution here. It mandates the chairperson when he receives such petitions, 50% of the districts of Uganda, 30% of the district executive committees, all those petitions were laid down. And here it comes what the chairman has to do. And you know the chairman in this way, he bears an office which puts order most of other offices. So it becomes queer and really regrettable for our senior leaders, the Secretary General, and here is the council, where the one who is supposed to put things in order, the house in order, is again put back, don't put the house in order. That's why the owners of the party, on 19th, they say, no, this party is to have a direction. We cannot remain under the capture of 1, 2, 3 persons to put collection into a number of issues that have been causing confusion in the party, one of which is the election. These elections were contested by the very owners of the party outside there. We have evidence where selection was done. We have evidence where we were able to prove that the acting electoral chairperson, electoral commissioner, he was proved to be incompetent. And now the solution was to call for an extraordinary delegate conference to determine whether to hold on that election or not. No wonder I've not gone to the resolutions. We had to go to a number of resolutions, which is to by the party.
Okay.
The party president, the Secretary General are not above the law. This constitution puts them to order under circumstances where they are proved not to protect the corporate image of the party. All Ugandans out there know what was happening. 3 months before, when you saw the chairperson being held hostage at the party headquarters, an old man of his age being lifted over the fence under the presiding person of the secretariat, and Ugandans are watching. Everyone sees that it was time for FDC to wake up and say, we won't say no. And the owners of the party have spoken, though that's a Supreme Delegate Conference.
There's a lot we have to chew on 2 aspects that you said, incompetence and illegality of the Electoral Commission. I'll be coming to that, but I won't dwell on the incompetence because I do not have the parameters to determine who does the job and how well they do the job within the Forum for Democratic Change. Allow me to bring in Brian Athere, the youth leader for Forum for Democratic Change in Kanungu District. I am at pains to ask a question that I would pose to any one of these 2. But from your point of view as a youth leader in Kanungu, what is happening within the party has completely tilted a lot.
You know, there are people I respect a lot, including Honorable from our quarter.
Honorable Siba.
Yes, from my knowledge as a young child, growing up, I wanted to become like them. I am disappointed. Unfortunately, I grew up to become like them. I looked up to them, to Patrick Kamulia, to Nara Mafabi, to him, to other many people. When I was growing up, I wanted to become like them. It was my pride to become like them. I no longer feel that. And it's very unfortunate and it's very hurting. Now, let me tell you something. The party is not the headquarter. The party is the people. And you can see where the people are. You can see where the hearts are. And even, and as I told Montu before Montu left, I met him and told him, even the guys who are with you will come back to FDC and leave you alone.
Interesting.
And unfortunately it has happened.
Oh, fortunately.
No, unfortunately it happened. You have 10 MPs who are with you, forming a new formation somewhere. When he went to Africana, then I met him, I told him, it's going to be hard for you because even the guys with you are going to leave you.
Muntu has...
No, I'm not saying Muntu.
Muntu has
I'm saying growing up. The people I wanted. And I have then, as I grow, I've also seen that actually they are not as stable as I thought. Because no, yes, because I'm strong, I'm not weak.
You're a young man.
Yes, they'll be strong. Unfortunately, they'll be stronger because that's who I am.
Okay.
And
so in light of your disappointment, allow me to ask this question.
My disappointment is very
because we understand your position now. You are disappointed in your leaders.
Very, because they are betrayed us.
In light of that disappointment, what's the way forward as a youth leader?
The way forward was made in Katonga, and that's the way forward. People and you see why the way forward was very important was because police could not allow Birigo again to enter peacefully. They had to block all the roads. So our leaders, they are working with the police, which has tortured us over the years. Now they are working with the police and they deploy police against us. Deploy first against me. I don't fight. I have not fought anybody. I'm a peaceful man. So I go to headquarters. I am manhandled because I am. How do you do that? How do you have to me? At least to another person who doesn't have an FDC member. By the for me.
A district chairman.
No, I don't.
Leader.
Even if I was not, even if it's just a member, a party is open every day. FDC, as we talk now, is under siege. You can't go there. The FDC said, because you can't go there, and he knows it. NEC can't sit. Because NEC can't, no, NEC has not sat for about maybe 4 months. NEC can't sit. So if NEC can't sit because power, part come like a boy, and them, they don't have control over it. So what they are doing is a one-man army or three-man army. When they meet in three, him, maybe Mafaba, and as soon as they're taken, that's very hopeless. That's not FDC. I can't be a member of such a party. And therefore, what I'm doing, I'm fighting to reclaim our party, then reclaim the country. Because the struggle is bigger. And they want to make us think low and just fight for FDC. The mission is clear. And he knows the mission very well. Better even than me.
Brian Atwire, I would like to urge you to be guarded in language. And then we can be able to move forward in matters.
So which bad is
No, I'm saying be guarded in language.
Yeah, I'm
sometimes tone and the employ of extreme words could create animosity, especially on state. We have a lot to chew on, but allow me at this point in time, as we approach the top of the hour, to go for a break. When we return, I'll be asking the Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi to tell us what the workings of the National Executive Committee of the FDC are. When can the members meet, and when they meet, what can they decide? Over the last 6 months, what has been the modus operandi? You'll be answering that question when we return from the break. You're watching the Kickstarter segment of Morning at NTV here on NT2 Morning at NTV. The debate is raging behind the scenes, and I would love to bring those sentiments to you who is watching from wherever you are. We are, of course, glad that you have chosen Morning at NTV. The Kickstarter, we are looking at the Forum for Democratic Change and the crisis of leadership that it finds itself in. The goings-on are clear for all, including the appointment of an interim president, an interim secretary general, and some other leaders who will be marshalling the party as the suspended leaders are investigated for anything that has been spoken, whether allegation or true. Let me return to the studio and have with me the Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi, the MP for Maokota County South. He's also a member of the National Executive Committee of the Forum for Democratic Change. We also have Joseph Tindieba, Deputy Secretary for Research and Policy within the party, as well as Brian Atwire, a youth leader from Kanugu District. When we went into the break, I had posed a question to Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi as a member of the National Executive Committee of the FDC. What has that particular organ of the party been up to for the last 6 months? The controversy surrounding decision-making, and in light of what has been happening over the last 1 month, the National Executive Committee comes into a spot of bother. But we have an opportunity to hear from a member and perhaps what has been happening therein.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I don't want to address what Mr. Traire raised here, which was, I think, beyond what I expected to discuss this morning.
Okay.
I just want to concentrate on issues. Our in-house.
You will address him as a youth leader
our in-house
on his disappointment.
Notwithstanding and disappointment can be addressed elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think when you're talking about NEC as an organ, it's a very important organ in the management of parties, specifically our party. You are looking at the delegates conference at the top, but which comes in maybe 3 or so years, unless there's a need, like what the chairman, the recent convened meeting, but specifically management is vested in NEC. The National Council is an organ which is policy-making organ for routine activities, but essentially the management is vested in this organ called NEC. So it's a very important organ for it to be functioning. And that's one where you have a very big problem administratively, not only in FDC, but all other parties. It involves logistics. It involves even apportioning time. I can assure you, even myself as a member of NEC and a member of parliament, I don't think I attended so many sessions. One, it was falling on dates where you have committees, so people are a little bit stratified. But I think generally speaking, NEC in FD has been functioning until recently, where you had now political squabbles and misunderstandings. So it was very difficult.
Those are the squabbles and misunderstandings we want to understand. What were they?
I think it's power struggle and ego. There is no big problem in FDC. It is involving ego and you know, and basically that is about most politicians in Uganda. They fail to address issues.
Honorable Sivambi, I want us to be very clear. You are a very respected member of the Forum for Democratic Change. You're also a former lecturer at Makerere University, not so?
Specifically, even teaching this particular area in this period now.
When you say ego,
yes,
on the part of the leaders,
yes,
you must be very specific. NEC, as an organ, has the powers to rein in on any leader who is either circumventing the processes of the party, who is overriding in their enforcement or use of power. Within the last 6 months, when accusations including receipt of money from the National Resistance Movement and President Yoweri Museveni in particular were brought up, how did NEC handle it? Was it something that you got notice of or copied in?
No, I think when you're raising about 3 or so issues, but let me start maybe with the issue of personal ego between individuals. I don't want to pick out, say so and so, but it's clear, even he has been talking about
you can say Patrick Amuriat, Nandala Nathan Mafari.
No, I will not say that, because that becomes personal. But I'm talking about generally there's a big leadership crisis and it's emanating from ego. It's very difficult. Some people don't even believe that Amuriat maybe was the appropriate person to replace Dr. Kizza Besigye. Because now when you look at Besigye's tenure at the time as a founder member, some people believe that she should continue. Personally, I even went to his place about 3 times with the delegations of people saying, Doctor, can you please come back to the party? We want that clout. So at that level, you find people who don't believe in Amuriat as an individual. And he's saying, I'm an engineer, I'm a former MP, so I have all that it takes. And other people say, no. Then there are other issues which have to do with personal behavior of individuals. One would say, no, whenever I go to the Secretary General's office, he's so resentful, he's really arrogant, so it becomes now an issue. Then there are other people who are coming in and they say, no, you've just come in. Just 1 year down the road, you want to become the president. How? So then the attacks about Lukwago, in the process, the party is now involved in personal issues, sentimental and egoistic issues. So basically now, that is one point. Then the other point you are raising has to do with the data money. It was not a point raised at NEC. It was a point which was raised after who I want to disclose as the whistleblower, Dr. Kizza Besigye, at the National Council. Then the National Council referred to that particular issue to a Council of Elders. I didn't get the opportunity to be invited as a witness because I was not involved in issues of money and I didn't know about it. Then a report came up which was presented before National Council, presided over by Ambassador Birigwa as the chairman. And the entire report was adopted, and they said the people who had been accused were exonerated. So at that level, if one is not happy, you go back to the appropriate organ and challenge and come up with further evidence because they said it was lacking. If they fail, then you can go to a court of law. So basically, all that is not lost. You cannot now say there's a crisis, these people are with this band, even innocent organs which are not involved, you attack like my son here, you attack even Nsibambi.
Don't pour oil on troubled flames.
I want us to go back. I want us to go back.
Quickly, Ntindeba is itching to submit on something before we lose that particular steed.
But are you giving me a chance just to clear something to
60 seconds.
60 seconds. I think viewers out there, There's no crisis in FDC as depicted.
You don't say.
No, there's no crisis in FDC as depicted. These are really issues which can be handled. The crisis in FDC is that the leadership has failed to understand and appreciate the fact that we can sit in-house and resolve these issues. You will never find anything, be it home, where everything is so stable and harmonious. The issue is the leadership to realize that you can do this, not illegally. Because if you're talking about legalese, basically, even the meeting convened at Katonga and the resolution passed, in itself, apart from being irregular, they're illegal, because there's the court order. But still, the court order notwithstanding, court orders will not manage political parties.
Tidieba.
Thank you so much for all viewers outside there and lovers of this country and FDC. They need to get this information clear, and partly responding to what the Senior Counsel Honorable Sibambi has just stated in a matter of ego. And me withstanding, I'll be mentioning specific offices, because specific offices are the ones which have not adhered to the principles of the party. They are thereafter causing part of this crisis. I cannot say it's not a crisis. It's a leadership and a constitutional crisis of the party. October 2021, over a matter of elections, for instance, that in the process of managing the party, this constitution cannot be left aside. This is a tool. I advised the office of the Secretary General, which I'm part of, but basically my senior leader, the Honorable Nandala Mafabi, that we don't have a legitimate electoral commission that is established according to Article 29, Clause 1. There shall be established an electoral commission of the party comprising the chief electoral commissioner and not less than 3 other commissioners elected by the National Delegate Conference, members of the FDC and the country at large. Since 2017, after the commission that was led by Captain Dan, we have never had an election of the Electoral Commission, which is elected by the National Delegate Conference. An interim commission, which he was to be part of before he went to occupy the position of the Member of Parliament, it was given 1 year. I was the architecture of a policy position to change from elective to appointive. Since then, the time elapsed, went to 20, went to 23. I come back now to 21. I say, here there is a crisis that is going to come. I'm really speaking this on grounds of genuinity, because Council, you know me very well. But now, this gentleman, the Secretary General and the President, I met the President twice. He never accepted. And I remained saying, no, I didn't join FDC for purpose of adding the number. If we are aspiring for good leadership, good governance, let it be so. And here it comes when you hear that the Extraordinary Delegate Conference was talking about nullifying the results of the recently elected, selected leaders. It is obvious that the grounds for nullification of those elections, which are purporting to carry on a national and illegal national delegate conference, and illegal of 6th October, because it is not convened by the chairperson. It is not of 3 months notice, and the
it is called by a chairman of an electoral commission,
who is also contested, and his actions, because the level of competency exhibited in the previous years, even while he was serving off de facto as a de facto electoral commission, it is regrettable. And when we say let's put the party on a clear direction of democracy, transparency, accountability, honesty, it is what brings this. It's not a matter of ego at all. In any case, those who are purporting about a matter of egoistic tendencies, they are the perpetuators. And here the owners of the party are saying, we want to now to control your ego. So when they come to say they want to control their ego, they say now you cannot convene a meeting. Yet they don't have the power to stop them not convene a meeting.
You're succeeding in confusing an already confused situation.
I don't think so, because...
And, okay.
It is clear. I don't think so, because, you know, he's raising issues which I think is blowing cold and hot at the same time. You're saying there's no electoral commission, but all the members of parliament that were parading yesterday went through this particular electoral commission
is
in
why
primary.
It's hard specific
all
any
the
time.
people, all the people you are calling, like with all due respect to Lukwago, how did he become a deputy president? You know, so I think we did blowing code, and you cannot say it is illegal, irregular, does not exist, but all these other structures that you were parading yesterday went through that electoral
That is a confusion.
So now the other point I think which is raising.
That's not true. The people that were paraded, they were not paraded first of all, because we are more than being paraded. Nobody can parade us.
Okay, the point
you can't say we are paraded. No, I wasn't paraded.
Calm down.
I wasn't paraded.
Brian,
you see, you want to say I was paraded. No, I wasn't. And I want to say one thing.
parading is a...
He spoke about Lukwago.
No, parading means we are on marching orders. No, we have a thinking.
By the way, he's right.
And have an interest.
He has the right.
And what you want to allow him to say is say I was paraded. Me, I can't be paraded. Nobody can parade me here. But how do you parade me? I've had to parade.
So to conclude it.
No, I want to tell him one thing. The most important organ of the party,
Yes.
which can even close the party, it can even sit and say we have closed it, is the delegates conference. It can even close the party.
Convened by the chairperson.
By the chairperson.
But what-
Nobody else can cause a and
What-
logistics, money, logistics, you
Then
fund,
you-
this one is not legal. There's nothing about, there's no money in the constitution. What is there is the chairman calling a meeting, period, and he called it. And finished.
Okay, now I think we allow that the meeting was okay. Now you implement your resolutions.
Good. And by what you're doing is by saying you have force, you have the military,
it's not
you have
force.
police, yes,
It's
you
not
have
force.
headquarters, so we can't implement it.
You implement.
But equally.
Legally, you implement them legally.
No, not illegal.
Legally.
Don't tell illegal things.
Legally.
I'm saying equally, because there's nothing we're doing that's illegal. Actually, you are very illegal.
There's a court order.
Actually, I am shocked a lawyer of Nsabambi's stature
there's a court
does
order.
something illegal like this one and supports it.
There's a court order which you have not set
Where
aside, which you have never varied.
You took yourself to court. You got your supporters and took yourself to court. Yes.
Okay.
Take the chairman. Take the chairman.
Let me allow him to submit.
I think we are here in different environments.
And words.
And
Please
we're
submit.
talking at also cross purposes here.
Submit.
I just wanted
Calm down. Calm down.
to submit by saying that the moment there's a court order, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it's not right, the appropriate avenue of challenging that order would be in court. If it's not set aside or varied, you cannot go ahead and come up with resolutions which are contrary to what court stated. So if there's an interim order, all those resolutions are inconsequential. So they cannot, without even involvement of the military, they cannot be enforced. Because first of all, the Electoral Commission is supposed to be almost managing political organizations. So definitely, if there was an interim order and you come up with resolutions which are fundamental, definitely will not be enforced.
Information on that. Before you do that point, sir, information.
No, allow him.
Okay.
Otherwise, lastly, but not least, for us as a party, whether we have our individual or party or general issues, they can be handled at our party level. When we fail, the only alternative is court. But when you go out and now attack courts of law, how are you going to challenge even whatever he's talking about? It is in itself, that one is really politically not correct. It's a blunder. Again, when you say you have passed resolutions in an what you call an extraordinary meeting, which were never communicated, because the extraordinary meeting conducts special business. If you look at the agenda of the meeting, they are talking about as if they are going to hold matters in the other ordinary delegates conference. If you now come up with proposals and they're endorsed and they were never communicated in an agenda, that one I've taught for 20 years, it ceases to be special business. And I have peripheral of cases about it. So you cannot ambush people by saying so and so disbanded, the other organ disbanded, so and so replaced. The ayes have it. No, that's not a special meeting.
Kindly cancel.
It ceases now, even the business.
Can they cancel receive information?
Tindiaba seems to counter what you said.
I would like us not to twist any action, but to be real. And remember, this agenda of the extraordinary conference was published in these newspapers. And kindly counsel, let's be on the same note for purpose of harmony to the viewers. One of the agenda that was main, the two of them in this national delegate conference, extraordinary national delegate conference, the chairperson put it on agenda number around 6 or 5, yeah, that to resolve on matter stalemate controversies that are affecting the party, plenary and resolutions. So now, for sure, it's not just either a fight for a win here in this talk show, but to be realistic, even people outside there, everyone, even if you don't call anyone here, knows that FDC has been passing through serious crisis of controversies, matters of abuse of office, matters of overlapping, matters of abuse of power, and above all, the contestation against the election, which was conducted without the satisfaction of the members. Because the election, when it's being conducted, is not conducted to please Naja and Nkumbi. It's conducted to please those who are to participate in the elections. And in this way, that's why petitions were raised. When you say that there was no specific matter on the agenda, sir, remember, there were, I already said it, I want to repeat it. There were 50 petitions from 50% petitions from the districts of Uganda. There were 30% of the district executive committees of Uganda for the FDC party structure. And remember, these are giving direction of which they propose the party to come in intervention, the supreme organ of the party. That is the National Delegate Conference.
National Delegates Conference.
Having said that, remember, when the court issue, commenced, first of all, I pray that you will not be part of such.
Of what?
Especially what we call syndicate litigation. You know that one?
No, I'm a lawyer.
Now,
So
yes.
I abide by court decision.
Thank you. But you know, there is what we call those kind of fraudulent acts and procedures, which
so you are saying court is fraudulent?
no, allow me to submit.
Yes,
Quickly.
Allow me to submit. Let me conclude on this. That it is the group of Honorable Nanda that went to court. And when they went to court to sue Nanda and Patrick Ameta Boy, lucky enough, the party formidable force, which is to rescue the party, they went to say, no, we don't see in this invitation mentioning the chairperson, Ambassador Birirwa.
But the party was sued.
Wait a bit, because remember, if it was so, we would have seen only the Secretary General appearing on the paper of those who are sued. But now we had to see Patrick Amleto Boy, meaning there was a conflict of interest.
No,
so
Joseph,
Ambassador Birirwa concluded this by saying, Ambassador Birirwa was not sued.
You cannot choose who to sue.
One minute.
Why didn't he apply to
Ambassador Birirwa was not sued.
You applied to
and the extraordinary conference
was
not for the party president, because it was not an committee.
Joseph Tindieva,
yes, sir.
You're a policy and research analyst.
Thank you.
Yusuf Nsibambi, you're a lawyer and very schooled in matters of litigation. Let me engage Chris Higenyi and Brian Atire. We are not experts at law or policy. When the laws of a party are, or leaders find that they are at loggerheads and they seek intervention of the courts of law, what supersedes the other? Yes, is it the Constitution of the nation, i.e. the courts of law, or the party? Just tell me that and then ask the next question.
No.
No.
You are saying yes or no, and I don't want to answer that.
Who is higher?
No. What is higher?
The courts of law or the party?
What is higher in FDC?
No.
This conference.
Let me tell you something. We've discussed FDC and which organ is
the constitution of the country supersedes the constitution of the party.
When matters of the party.
The constitution of the party. The constitution. I don't know, but I know one thing. Really, the constitution
of the country supersedes
any law in Uganda, including
that is right.
The one of Kobazambogo, including the one of Pachika Peterana, including everything.
Lovely.
That one is known. Everybody knows that.
Now that the courts of law are hearing petitions concerning matters FDC, do you believe that any resolution reached when there is an interim court order are null and void?
The worst thing you're doing is one. You're saying, I sue NTV. Okay, you do a mistake, and I sue. I don't sue you. I sue NTV because you're non NTV, which is okay. But also, I go to court and say I am the one who hold the meeting. It's being challenged. I'm here. I want to defend myself. You see, police, the judges, and the military and everything in Uganda is under Museveni's capture.
Do you believe?
What's captured, when they are captured, this one is using captured institutions to capture FDC more.
Do you believe you can articulate that argument before the judge?
Yes, I can.
And
By the way, I'm a witness on two things. But first, let me say what is very important. I was called on a phone. Brian at Haile, yes, how are you? I'm good. What do you want to become in Kanungu? On the committee. That's how the response were carried out.
Yeah.
A phone call. How, and I said in Kanungu, it won't happen unless I'm dead. And they cannot have structures in Kanungu. They will not have them. And that one is what I'm telling you. The people are the party, not the headquarters, whatever they are discussing. Actually, because I'm more radical, even forming another one is an option. Why should I be captured by FDC if Uganda is captured the whole of it? Why should I be captured in one thing, FDC? Why?
Interesting.
Yes, and by the way, I can't be a member of FDC under their leadership. I will not.
You will not be.
I will not.
Honorable Nsibambi.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I want you to step away from the Forum for Democratic Change.
Thank you very much.
I want to speak to the lawyer. I want to speak to the lecturer in you. The FDC...
I'm also a lecturer, that's a good...
FDC resolved under the auspices of the Extraordinary National Delegates Conference, and some leaders were suspended, and an interim leadership structure was established. There is an ongoing court process. Within the confines of law and matters of litigation, where are we on this?
Yeah, thank you very much.
And then the other thing, you should also educate us. Yesterday I spoke to Francis Mwijuche here on the show, and he expressed grave concern at the fact that all cases that apparently have Nandala Mafabi fighting for his life are handled by a particular judge, Nambayo. Within the workings of the judiciary, is it okay for one judge to handle cases that are seen to be inclined to one person?
Yeah, maybe I start with that. Personally, for all the time I've been in private practice, it is okay, because dockets are allocated by the principal judge and maybe in the guidance of the Chief Justice.
That's right.
and judicial guidelines. So if you find the Lord Justice Nambayo handling these particular issues, it's not a surprise because she's virtually in that particular department and docket. So whatever cases falling there under, she has to manage. And if you're not happy as a litigant, there's a way you can go to the principal judge to change the file, or the inspector of courts. So I think that one really, it is unethical.
In other words, it's
for a
okay
member
for
of parliament to attack the bench at that level. Okay. Because there are ways, there are channels where you can really raise those complaints. Even legally, you can even object and say, I object to hearing this matter on the following grounds. Can you please get off this particular file? So I think that's not a very big point. Okay. But the point which I think where we find a little bit embarrassing and say a legal and a political blunder is where you have a court order, whatever the order. Instead of now challenging it to set it aside or be varied, you cannot just go on and say now, for us in this regard, we go ahead. That one is really even indiscipline, and it's embarrassing to the party. Because we are looking at senior members of the party disregarding a court order. And now you are saying, you are now talking about the rule of law and constitutionalism. I think that one is a little bit embarrassing. We have tried to talk to the people involved to tone down. There's still time before 4th. For them, if you want to be joined and you feel you want to participate, you apply and be joined formally. You don't just stampede court and say, I'm here, I'm a senior lawyer, I'm representing so and so. You apply formally. Okay. And if it is rejected, you appeal.
Honorable,
please, we should not embarrass our party to those levels.
Honorable Nsibambi, Brian Atire, and Joseph Tindieba, I'm going to have to go for. I'm going to have to go for another break. I'm going to have to go for another break. I'm to the studio, and of course I have with me Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi, MP Maokota County South. I also have Brian Atire, FDC leader in Kanungu District, as well as the Deputy Secretary for Policy and Research at the Forum for Democratic Change, Joseph Tindieba. Hearing what the cadres within FDC who are camping at Najana Nkombe right now say, there is need to understand that the party is bigger than individuals. Yes. there is a sentiment that is running across that despite the differences, there is need for the leaders to understand that unity of purpose is more important. But that is a discussion that will continue in the days to come. I would like to ask the policy honcho, what is happening at Najanankumbi right now? Is it illegal? Is it irregular?
You have rightly stated it is illegal. It is irregular because you cannot go to participate in an election which is already challenged by a supreme body. That is the National Delegate Conference. You cannot go and participate in an activity that is to lead to another irregularity when you hear about the 6th October 2023 National Delegate Conference, which is not convened by a notice not by the chairperson, which is not a notice not issued 3 months. And the senior counsel with reference, Honorable Sibambi, he knows it. And they are doing it, what we call always state, with impunity. As you rightly stated, there is no one who is bigger than the party. If now Honorable Tutribuka Wamwenda connives with the beat powers around him to ensure that the FDC constitution is set aside, that's when you will see a greater and ending revolution of the FDC. And that withstanding, by 6th, that's when we are going to test the kind of institution we have. I don't want to attack any institution. By 6th October 2023, when this matter is again brought to court to hold this illegal National Delegate Conference of 6th October, that's when we will see whether the courts of Uganda are fair. Under a matter of where individuals are overthrowing the party constitution, convening a meeting in an irregular way and in an illegal way. All this should be known to Ugandans. Yes. FDC stands with this constitution and would like to defend it.
Honorable Msibambi, under what mandate does Tuteribuka Bamwenda convene this?
Yeah, that's a matter of clarification.
As a member of NEC?
As a matter of clarification.
As a lawyer
yes,
too?
Yes, I'm going to clarify that for the viewers to understand exactly what is the true situation on the ground. Contrary to what Dr. Tinye was saying, there is a roadmap in FDC to do with elections specifically. And this roadmap was passed by the 2 organs, competent organs. One, the National Executive Council, NEC, and then also the National Council. So at that level, even dates were set. They were varied and set. And they said specifically on 6th October or by 6th October, you should have conducted elections, because thereafter on 8th, the term will expire and we will now get a political impasse like what happened to LOC elections. So we must carry out elections before 8th October. That is definite.
In agreeing to that,
then too,
where was the chairman?
I'll talk about that. Actually, he's not maybe aware that what appears to be an advert in the media is an advert by an office of the Electoral Commission telling them specifically about elections. He's not talking about we are convening. You look at the nature of the wording. It's not talking about convening a delegates conference.
There's a procedure matter on that. He's supposed to notify
people, notifying people about elections on that day.
The EC is supposed to notify the chairman, not to notify the public.
The issue of notice under this constitution, even under the political organization.
Council, let us agree. He's supposed to contact the chairman.
I want you to
about who convened.
First understand the layman's angle here. Bamwenda is not calling for a national delegates conference. He's calling for elections.
Yes.
The elections is always an agenda.
In fact, but within the constitution of the party, elections must be held at a national delegates conference.
Exactly. You are having it right.
You didn't give me time to explain.
Please.
You're having it right.
This is the area I talked. Notice of any meeting of an organization is not specified under the constitution. It's the convening. Who convenes? This meeting, which is going to be held, is actually an ordinary meeting. They're going to consider other businesses, including elections. So Bamwenda was advertising for his docket. The notice of a meeting
How
It is not his office that
was
advertises.
who is saying the chairman
the head
did
of
not?
the Electoral
Who is
Commission
saying-
called for a meeting that will discuss
Who is
other
saying-
things other than elections.
Who is telling you that the chairman did not convene an ordinary meeting? Bamwera is not telling people to come to discuss other business. He's notifying them about who is supposed to stand and you should come to appear. That one is okay.
Under what
Even-
auspices should elections be conducted within the FDC? At
Which
the
one?
National Delegates Conference,
Yes,
right?
and that's going to be a national delegates conference. Hey, you didn't know about that.
So,
it's
no,
not
that's
about
the
Bamwera.
semantics of wording.
No, 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 no,
You have
is,
it right,
sir.
and I'm
you wait
still
for
interested.
that meeting. You will see the agenda will specify businesses from communication from the chair, treasurer's report, and election. These people are
Let
not
us
aware.
resolve that
It was
amutisting.
given.
Let us
And who
resolve
is
that
It
amutisting.
was
Very
given
quickly.
by the
Let
chairman's
us
office.
resolve that
What happens
amutisting.
in the absence of a chairman?
I'm running out of time.
Let us,
You read that one.
let us
We are
resolve
not
that
stupid.
amutisting. And the moment we begin to operate this, we will be dishonest before
I'm telling
Ugandans.
you,
Wait,
it doesn't matter.
wait one
You are going to
second.
an agenda.
What is the
Wait
policy?
one second.
He also has an agenda.
Wait one
The agenda
second.
is going to be given in that meeting.
Wait one
No,
second.
no, I know, I'm coming to you. Don't worry about
The
that.
agenda is going to be given.
Don't worry
You
about that.
cannot twist the thoughts, the document, and even
How?
our presence here.
You read
quickly.
the
Honorable, hold it.
Why are you panicking on my
Honorable,
submission?
hold it.
One, the reason why the National Delegate Conference
Yeah.
cannot be convened by or even notified by, in any case, by the Teterubuka Wamwenda Commission, is that Teterubuka Wamwenda is subject to the overseership of the chairperson, okay, National Delegate Conference. In any case, if we were to speak right without any other interest, sir, the Teterubuka Wamwenda should have straight away notified, should have notified the chairperson, should have notified the chairperson, and after notifying the chairperson agrees with the Secretary General, or the chairperson, even whether with agreement or not, goes and advertises.
No.
Again, another
don't-
twisting.
Okay.
One second, don't panic on this. Another twisting is on ordinary. 2 months, and yet they are supposed to issue a notice of 3 months. You cannot sell the party under twisting of laws.
Useful
And
Sivambi,
we believe
Dr.
that
Joseph
time will tell
Tinjeba,
us.
allow me have Brian Atire on the last word on this. You're going to close this discussion for us. But the question I'm going to ask is this. The accusations against Nandala Nathan Mafwabi and Patrick Oboy Amriat have been laid out in the media. The apparent machination to take the party to State House. I don't know what that means or exactly how it's being done, but if I were to ask you a question right now as a youth leader and one that has been keeping tabs to the developments within the party, and an accusation like that is labeled against the likes of Bafwabi, Nandala, and Amriat, what do the people mean? What should we see? Is it a case of perhaps a memorandum of understanding between the National Resistance Movement and Mafwabi and Amriat that has already been drafted? One like Norbert Mau's?
First of all, that's not Mafwabi, that's not Amriat. And this is not in Sivambi. No.
Who are they?
Now, in Sivambi, I will not talk about him because I don't know anything. Like they vote against him, and he's my good man. But I have issues with him because he's not understanding what we are saying. Now, yes.
Interesting.
Yes, he's not understanding. But for the person I see in Patrick Amriat Oboy and Mafwabi, and the men I know, those are not the ones. That is Museveni. Clear, that's Museveni. And the roadmap is clear. And I cannot be sold like Katogo or Nyebra. I want what I'm fighting for. I want because Mafwabi wants to tell all of us. Once even Mafwabi, even Mafwabi is with me,
No,
even
be
here,
clear.
even Brian. No,
At
the roadmap is
Hire-
clear. They are going to Museveni.
At Hire, you're a youth leader.
Yes, and by the way,
Your national
yes,
television.
yes.
What is this roadmap to sell FDC to Museveni?
2026, Mafwabi running for president, rules be in cabinet or go somewhere. Mao's time, there's nothing.
What are you going to do about it?
No, aha.
That's
And
the-
that's
that's
what
the-
you want to know. I can't be sold. I want to go with you. You can take the party, but the mission is clear.
The name.
Mission to liberate you can take the party name and the party headquarters, not me. The mission is clear. Liberate Uganda from the fangs of the junta, period.
Yusuf Nsibambi, Honourable Member of Parliament for Maokota County South, thank you very much. The submissions are done. I'm just signing out. Thanks to you too, Brian Atmire, FDC leader from Kanungu, and thanks to you,
thank you, Mr. Chris, for inviting us. We appreciate it,
Deputy Secretary for Policy and Research,
Yes,
Secretary General, Policy and Research at the Forum for Democratic Change. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And that will do it for this edition of the Kickstarter. Morning at NTV is nearing an end. Let me allow for a short break. We'll be right back.